Rockpit. It's Sixx with Nikki, and I am most excited to be talking to Dell tonight. How are you, Dell?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous. Thank you for asking, Nikki. How are
Happy
you?
release day. Like, I feel very honored to be talking to you on such a special day.
Thank you so much for calling in. It's been a while since we've chatted.
Do you know, I actually looked it up. The last time I did an interview with you was 6 years ago. There's a sign. 2018. It's been way too long between drinks.
There was, if I remember correctly, there was some Disney character cutouts on the wall.
There
Uh,
was.
well, I think it may have been Winnie the Pooh, but I could be wrong.
You're absolutely correct. And you win the prize for the best on site interview I ever did back in those days. That was epic. So,
It was a lot of fun.
oh, look at me, just like straight to it. Like, so I've got so many questions. I don't know how I'm going to get them through in the allocated time, but I'm going to give it a red hot crack, Dell. It's
Let's
release
go.
day. I'm super excited. It's been a massive year for you. Like, if I think of some of the things you've achieved just this year, clearly we've got a new track today. Yes. You've signed to XMusic. What
Yep.
else have you done? You've got an Australian tour coming up. Like, this
Yep.
has been a really massive year for you. And how do you feel? Has there been any highlights so far, or is it yet to come?
Well, it's been I guess it's the first year in quite a while that I really feel like I'm fully back on the horse. We had those years where it was kind of stop start, and I didn't, I wasn't fully sure if I was going to play live again. And so that finally came to fruition last year. For the first time, I kind of got back on the horse again and toured internationally for the first time since 2018. Um, so that I kind of ticked those boxes that I really wanted to, I guess, do for myself. And then, yeah, I guess we hit this year, and this year was for me about making sure that I got good exposure for the last record, and then moving on.
Yeah.
It really was about moving on, and XMusic has been absolutely incredible. Like I saw their name pop up several times. Um, Cicada Stone and Sisters Doll and Carly Jewel, and these are people that I know, and I just saw this name keep popping up, and it kind of gotten to a point where when I first signed with Curtain Call, I've been doing a lot of US touring, and they were absolutely incredible for me through the lockdown years. But being US based, it just became really difficult to try and get the support that I really needed when I've only done. I mean, the first sort of I guess 8 years of being solo, I did like 10 or 11 US tours, and I've only done one in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So super excited to get XMusic on board. Super excited to get this new lineup. This is the first song of the new record, so I'm excited to have a five-piece for the first time. I'm excited to have my brother on board. Excited to yeah, just excited to open a new chapter. It feels like, this is kind of the bookend, I guess, if you will. I wrote this song at the exact same time as I wrote the last song of the last album. So
Same.
this is kind of the link, and then everything else is new since then. So
It's funny that you mentioned that because obviously I've been listening to the new track today. And by the way, I genuinely love it. I think it's amazing. And
thank you.
as a fan and a punter, I listened to the song and I interpreted it a certain way. And to
Yep.
me, it was all about choosing to thrive and not just survive it and grabbing a hold of life and going for the dreams. There was a particular line in that song that really just, oh, got me, man. And the line is, I wrote it down because it was that amazing. It was, where is it? I've lost it. It was about show me the life I was afraid to live. It was along those lines.
Help me live the life that I once feared.
That's it. Excuse me. Apologies for completely
No,
butchering that.
that's all good.
When I saw your live stream tonight, you talked about exactly what you just said, how you wrote that song in lockdown. And I'm really interested. Like, I had my own version in my head of what it could have meant, but I'd love to hear from you who wrote it, what it means, what the lyrics mean to you and what it's about.
Well, so I was so go all the way back to 2020, right? And I was in between albums, and at the time, it had been 2 years since my last US tour, which at the time was quite a while for me, right? And my mum and dad both live in the US, and my mum's birthday, she was turning 60 that year. And so I wasn't planning on releasing any new music, but I decided I would put together a little side project, which I called Dellacoma's Cosmic Experience.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll just kind of go back over there and I'll meet up with a few radio stations. I'll do a little bit of promo for what I imagined would be a new album, right? And then I'll go to my mum's birthday. And we got two or three shows into that tour before I'd even met up with my family, and the whole country shut down, and I had to get back home. And before I knew it, I'm sitting in this like tiny little apartment in St Kilda, and I had a lot of time to think. And Stay, I wrote Stay, and I wrote More, which is the last track on the last album, and I wrote More Than Survival. And Stay is about, I guess, just sitting with yourself and observing your thoughts, I guess, if you will, and observing your experiences and figuring out what parts of you actually want to keep, and what parts have kind of just been added to you from your experiences and all that kind of stuff. And More Than Survival, in many ways, even though it's a very different song to Stay, is kind of the progression from that, if you will. It's you've had time to sit and think about who you are and where you're at, and wanting more, but not in a I'm trying to think what the word is, not in a staying in a place of gratitude for where you have come from, but also understanding that there is more to life than just keeping your nose above water.
Yeah.
And I had personally, I guess, been in a place where I was just kind of keeping my nose above water for several years before that. Just on a personal front, but also I'd had a band breakup and just a few different things. I felt like I was just kind of just getting by. And even though I didn't intend to stop and think about life and all that kind of stuff, it was an opportunity for me to actually sit there and observe myself and observe where I'd been, and also think about where I wanted to get to. And that line that you're talking about, like, help me live the life that I once feared, that for me personally is about overcoming that part of you that can be, I guess, almost tearing yourself down. Sometimes, you can tear yourself down. You can think, oh, I'm not good enough, or, oh, maybe my dreams are too big or whatever. And that subconscious part of you that tells you that you can't do it. It's that line encapsulates all of that. And if you go back earlier in the song, I can only give you one thing. It's the thing you never needed from me, right? That is almost a sarcastic line, right? Almost from a pessimistic view, because the only thing that I can give is me, right? So if you take it from that angle, I can only give you one thing. That's me. It's the thing you never needed from me. You, whoever that hypothetical you is, never needed me, right? But you extrapolate that all the way through the song. and you get to a point where you realize that you are all that you will ever be in a sense, and you were also the one that is holding you back
Yeah,
from being the person that you can be.
amazing. And I guess I wasn't so off the mark when I sort of went, it's not just about existing, it's about living, if that makes sense.
100%. 100%.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
You get like a lot of times we get, I think as humans, we get stuck in this fight or flight sort of mode, it's we've got to get up at X amount of time, to give ourselves enough time to catch the train or drive to work or whatever. And then you give the best hours of your day to get a paycheck so you can put food on the table and you can keep a roof over your head and you can, pay for your kids to go to school and you can, and you're just kind of keeping your nose above water, and that becomes the norm.
Yeah, for sure.
You almost don't realize that there is more than that, and that's not to be ungrateful for that, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of people in this world that can't keep a roof over their head, or can't keep food on the table. But it's about this song for me is about understanding that no matter where you're at in life, life is more than just getting by. It's more than just surviving. Surviving is what the animals do. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
you
do.
know, that's and our realm in this on this planet, we're destined, I believe, for more than that. It's not just where is my next meal going to come from. And if you're in a position where you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, then figure out where that next meal is going to come from. And while you're eating that next meal, figure out how you can get to a point where you can get ahead, even just a little bit, because every little bit you get ahead puts you more in a position where not only are you going to live a richer life, but you're going to be able to give more as
Yeah.
well.
Because you know the old adage, you can't love someone else until you love yourself. Like that's what I'm hearing here. And I genuinely I feel that. Like this got
Yep.
really deep really quickly, but I have no issue with that because that's what I took away from the song too. So before we go forward, let's go back just for a second. I am the proud owner of this. I love this record. I genuinely love it, Dal. And I'm number 14 out of 150. So I got in nice and early. Um, there's a lot of dark titles on that album. Like if you look at Lady Undertaker and Vampires and I Don't Want to, and I feel like there's so many dark themes on it if you looked at the title only. But then you listen to Adrenalize, and to me, that's a song, Adrenaline, sorry. To me, that's a song full of hope. It's really uplifting. Was that album intentionally meant to be dark? Does it reference a dark place, or is it actually about the hope that I saw in Adrenaline?
Um, that album, it was the first time that I'd ever done a purely studio record. It was an album that had been stop start for many years, actually. And it encapsulates my entire music career because it goes, Leave a Light On is a song that I wrote in 2005.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
and it had just I tried to record it in multiple bands before, and it just didn't quite work.
Yeah.
Uh, in and it wasn't until I finally was able to get to hit this album that it finally worked all the way through to I Don't Want It and Stay weren't actually meant to be on the album, but it's only because I had the album almost finished, and then we hit lockdowns,
Yeah.
and because I had lockdowns, that was when I Don't Want It wasn't quite finished, and I wrote Stay. So I sent both of those to my producer, and he goes, "Oh, I think these would actually work on the record." I actually sent him More Than Survival as well, and we kind of, between those three songs, we kind of decided that More Than Survival wasn't quite it just wasn't, it didn't quite fit with I guess the overall theme. But
Yeah.
Blood, I have been. It is an interesting record from the standpoint of, I guess it's the first time that I've really sat down and just allowed myself to explore um, all of me, I guess, in many ways. So there's songs on there about previous relationships. There's songs about my own, like Lady Undertaker is my personal journey through, battling the black dog, if you
Yeah,
will, at
yeah,
times in my life. And it's that concept that when you have dark thoughts, you don't have to play that game. As hard as it may be, you can choose to walk away, not from, you can choose to walk away from life too, but you can also choose to walk away from the thoughts. That's essentially what that song is about. And it's interesting you notice the darker themes on it, because the album title itself, Blood, it's definitely not a metal record, as it might say. It's not raining blood or anything, but the idea behind that was blood is, you can be blood relatives. You put your heart and soul into something. People will say you put your, blood, sweat, and tears into it.
absolutely. Yeah.
You cease to exist if you don't have blood in your veins. So this album for me was about all the parts of me up until this point. They've all intersected, and here it is. And to answer your question, is it dark or is it hopeful? I would say it's both,
Yeah.
because I think and you're going to see on this next record as well. It's going to be. I'm not going to reveal the album title yet, but it's almost going to be the reverse in some ways. That album starts with Adrenaline and then gets a bit more dark. And this next record is almost going to be a reverse of that, where it gets lighter.
Awesome.
Because I feel like as a musician, as an artist, as a writer, part of your job is to either write about what's going on, or to paint an escape for what's going on. I feel like you're either observing, or you're helping people deal with what is going on. And there's been a lot of dark stuff in the world. There's always dark stuff in the world, but
Yeah.
especially the last, sort of 3-4 years.
100%.
And I think it's important to acknowledge the darkness, because if you don't acknowledge the darkness, then you can't compare it to the light, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
That makes absolute sense. Well, I think it's a cracker. We've heard the first song. I know what's coming is going to be amazing. I'm going to be cheeky and ask, and if you can't answer this, it's okay. Is there a new album to look forward to in the imminent future?
Absolutely. So I'm probably 3/4 of the way through demos at the moment.
Yeah.
So we will. The idea is that we will have the album all finished sort of early next year, but we'll be drip feeding singles through in the lead up, and then hopefully. We haven't set a release date yet, but hopefully sort of mid next year, we'll be able to actually release a new album.
Awesome. You've got an Australian tour coming up, and that's going to go through November through to January, and you're pretty much hitting the whole country, which is really exciting and awesome. What kind of set list can we expect from that? Is it going to be the whole journey all the way from the beginning, or is it going to focus mainly on the new stuff? What's in that?
Well, I can say it'll be right the way through all the solo stuff. I don't have any Sunset Riot songs in there, but I've got.
I want to hear Dellacoma. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. But we're adding back in the last track of the first album, Fame Slaves Gold.
Oh, right.
Um, that is, it's that one I have not played that one live since probably 2016,
Yeah,
and it's been
right.
requested by a few people. So I thought, you know what? Let's let's give it a crack. So I would say it's probably, I mean, we play all the singles. So if there's a music video for it, it'll be in the set. And then we've got a couple of cheeky covers, um, done Della style, of course.
Of course.
Um, and yeah, a couple of album tracks as well.
Amazing. I wanted to talk to you about covers because I think it was during COVID. I can't remember when, but I just remember there was times where I would get onto the old social media and doom scroll and a live feed with you would pop up and you'd literally just pick up a guitar and you'd like, you know what, people, throw me a song. I'll play anything. And yes, you played 30 Seconds to Mars for me, so thank you. But what I loved about that is you've released a couple of covers. You did Break Me, Shake Me, and you've done Long as I See the Light. You're not afraid of a cover, and damn, you do a good job. Is there any particular cover you're particularly passionate and emotive about when you sing, or would you say that about all of them? Is there any favorites for you?
Um, yes, there's definitely favorites. I definitely I'm somebody that I can't put my heart and soul into a song that I don't like.
Yeah.
So if some people have an ability to just be able to do anything, for me, I've got to actually like it. So you know, um, and there's been a few songs actually that I've recorded and then I've gone, yeah, it just didn't quite work. Maybe, and I liked the song, but it just didn't quite work for whatever reason. You mentioned Break Me, Shake Me. That's I when I was a teenager, I was absolutely mad fan of Savage Garden. So that
Same.
was yeah, that was one that I've always wanted to cover a Savage Garden song, and so that was pretty cool for me to come out with. And Long as I Can See the Light as well. That was so that recording was really interesting because we were in the studio recording Vampires
Yeah.
Till We All Belong in Nashville, Tennessee. And in between takes, my drummer at the time was Jared Medwin, and he also plays piano. And he was playing around on the baby grand in the studio, and I was in the vocal booth, and we were waiting for the engineer to fire up the mixing desk and crack on. And Jared started playing something, and I said, "Oh, that sounds like Long as I Can See the Light." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And because it doesn't have piano in the original Creedence song. And I was like, "Oh, it sounds like that." And we were kind of talking over, like I was on a microphone on cans, and he just started playing, and then I started singing along, just kind of warming up my vocals. And unbeknownst to us, the engineer had just hit record, and we
Ninja.
went through, and we went through it twice, and then he was like, "Okay, we're ready to record for the day's sessions." And about a month later, he sent me a message, and he said, "Okay, I've got your 3 songs ready." And I was like, "3? But we only recorded 2. It was Till We All Belong and Vampires." He goes, "Yeah, and the Creedence cover." And I said, "You recorded that?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, what does it sound like?" It's literally just piano and vocals. And it came out really well, and I am very proud of that song. And we had that in the set for the last US tour, which was the first time that I'd ever played music with my little brother. And the song for me is very deeply emotional because it's taken on. I've never met the writers of the song, but for me, the emotion behind it is, when you're at home, there's a part of you that does miss being on the road, but
Yeah.
then when you're on the road, you really miss the people you love at home. So there's that push and pull constantly. And the the first probably like 3 or 4 times we played that song live because it was just my brother on piano and me, I'm telling the story and everything and yeah, I couldn't keep it together the first probably 3 or 4 times I had like sang that song like live. Definitely several tears shed.
Oh, beautiful. And you mentioned it, and I was going to circle back to it. So thank you for mentioning it again. Your brother. So your brother is officially in the lineup now?
Yes. So I come from a rather large family. There's myself and then 3 sisters and then my little baby brother. And we didn't grow up together because I'm the oldest and he's the youngest. And there's enough of an age gap there to where I was basically gone by the time he sort of started school. And it's ironic that we both got a very similar university degree, went into different fields, but then circled back around and ended up playing music. And piano is his first instrument, but he is absolutely incredible on all instruments. He's got a great voice, and I'm very, very blessed to have him as a part of the lineup because it means that I can now do what I've always wanted to be able to do, which is if I want keys on a song, I can have keys. If I want guitar on a song, I can have guitar. So John is an absolutely incredible musician in his own right. He's got his own band, and then he also does solo. And he's played festivals as a drummer, as a bass player. He's
He
one of
sounds
those
really
people.
annoying, just overachiever.
I know, right? I'm
Good
like,
on him,
man,
though.
like making me look bad.
Is he Australian based?
He is now, yes.
Yes.
So he's currently on tour in the US. But he's doing some of his solo stuff over there, but he'll be back over here and he'll be doing the full run with us, which is super, super exciting. That'll be his first Australian tour, and it'll be my first proper Australian tour with my own music since, man, I can't even remember, like 2018, probably
Well,
2017, 2018.
I'm excited, and I know for a fact I am not the only one. So bring it on, and I will actually see you on this tour. So you will see me at a gig, but that's all right. I'm excited for it. I worry sometimes. It's like you have such a strong connection to the US, and we've referenced it a couple of times. Obviously, Curtain Call is still on the scene as far as management and touring and stuff goes. There's still the relationship with Curtain Call, but we've got XMusic now. You've worked with Jason Todd. You've obviously had Tracy Guns do the guitar for Kill Your Idols. I worry selfishly that we're going to lose you to America. Is that a danger? Like, I'm being genuine. It's a serious question.
Um, well, your fears are well based. um, I made the choice. I split from the mother of my children in 2018.
Yeah.
And she had supported me through, the early touring and everything. And then once we split, it became a lot harder to kind of be able to negotiate being able to see children in amongst touring
Yeah, of
internationally and
course.
everything. So I made the choice then that I was going to base out of Australia because I wanted to see my kids, you know.
Amazing.
So I for at least I'll definitely be based here for at least the next 7 years, 7, 8, 9 years, and then after that, who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? But yeah, there was definitely a point there where well, the first year and a bit of Dellacoma, I was over in the US for probably 13 out of the first 15 months.
Yeah.
Um, just because I, I, I mean, doing your own music is always difficult, but for whatever reason, I think I'd had more opportunities over there, even though it's a lot harder over there. I think that the style of music that I do, um, there just didn't seem like there was as many opportunities.
Yeah.
here in Australia, but I've kind of just accepted that it is what it is now, and I just do the music I do, and kind of, whoever likes it likes it.
Oh, well, there's lots of people that like it. For my last question, I'm going to ask you a really random one just because this caught my eye and I just have to know the story. You met Caleb, the bass player, in a cafe.
Yes.
How did this happen? And how did you work out that he could actually play and this is going to happen?
So this is a great example of um, keeping an open mind. Okay, so when I first I moved up to Queensland, end of 2020, early 2021, and I moved in with a mate of mine, Richie Norton from the band Super Heist, and his dad was living on the property on Richie's property, and I used to I used to mow his dad's lawn, and we used to go to the same coffee shop. And one day
Okay.
his dad goes, "Oh, Caleb, that does coffee at the coffee bus. He plays bass." Because I was thinking about getting at the time, I hadn't played my own music live for quite a while, but I was thinking about putting a band back together again, right? And he goes, "Oh, Caleb plays bass." And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." In my head, I didn't have an open mind. I was like, "Oh yeah, everybody
Heard
plays an
that
instrument."
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard that before. Oh, my second cousin's, auntie. Yeah, she's a great guitar player. But um, but he kept telling me this, and every time, I kind of go over Mo's lawn. It's like, "Oh, if you're still looking for a bass player, Caleb plays bass." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I went down to a place called Soul Bar, which is in Maroochydore, which is about half an hour from where I live. And I was going to play solo acoustic there. There was like it's a proper venue, but they do this open mic thing where you get to play 3 songs, and it can be full band or it can be acoustic. And I thought it'd be a great way to just meet local musicians. So I went down there to play a couple songs. And right before me was a funk band called Treehouse, and Caleb was playing bass. And I was like, "Whoa, he
Was there a
actually."
bit of slapping going on?
I was like, "Wow." So afterwards, I went up to him and I was like, "Oh man," I was like, I told him the story. I was like, "I gotta say, Wally was telling me you play bass." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, but you actually can play bass." And true bass player fashion, I don't know how many bass players but they're like,
Well, I
in
gave
my
birth to one. So, there's that.
experience, right? Right? I know, I know. Um, in true bass player fashion, he was just so nonchalant about
Yeah.
all of it. And I was like, "Oh, well, would you like to come and have an audition, and kind of just," and he goes, "Yeah, cool." He went away and learned all the stuff. And then next thing you know, we played a couple of shows, and I was like, "Oh, do you want to come to America with me?" And he was like, "Yeah, cool." And he ended up having his he ended up having his 21st birthday on tour with me last year.
Stop it. That is an epic 21st memory right there. That is really cool. Del, I really thank you for your time tonight. I'm so in love with your new song. More Than Survival is epic. Can't wait to see you on tour. We're going to post all the details when this goes to air. But I wish you all the best and thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much for hanging out and interviewing, and it's great to see you.
You too.